It's Kirk.
It's Bird. It's the Kirk Byrd Show. We're blessed to have with us today Sean O'Brien. He covers Osbourn Park High School sports. Sean, welcome to the show, bro.
Hey guys, thank you, Rusty, thank you, Kirk, for having me. I love what you guys do covering the Prince William County, and I've been a fan from afar. I get to see you guys at some of the games sometimes, and I really enjoy it. I love the whole community.
Uh, Thank you, Sean. And I've seen you. I've seen you in the press box. I've seen you before and after some of the games. And for a long time, I told you, like, y'all, I wasn't even going to say what year he graduated from high school, but I thought, oh, he's got to be on the school newspaper. He's but I'm like, oh no, like, okay, he's actually. And I started reading your stuff,
Uh-huh.
your blogs, and I'm like, oh no, this is Nicky. This dude is a man who's got skill and he knows what he's talking about. And then I'm just like, oh, that's my dog, Sean. What's up?
Thank you, appreciate it, man.
Yeah, good stuff, good stuff. So what I want to do is we want to learn a little bit more about you. We want to help promote your blogs, but we also want to, check you on OP Sports.
Yeah.
The girls basketball, that's where I saw you a lot this year. Um, let's talk. We can talk about the great season they've had,
Yeah.
and then the girls softball team is doing great right now. So let's first go ahead on and talk about this year. If there are any high or low highlights for Osbourn Park athletics, if it's something I missed.
So the last 2 years, I actually got to cover the girls basketball during the playoffs, and I wasn't on full time for basketball. I did the boys about 2 years ago with Jeremy Coleman when he was the coach, so he got me in there. But this was the first full season I got to cover the girls every single game. One week, I remember one week we had cancellations and we had to move stuff around. We had 5 games in one week, and that will exhaust anyone, especially the players. But it was just a really fun season. Great to get to know the coaching staff. Because it's sometimes I didn't really been as hands on with them in the past, and this year it was kind of building those relationships, getting to know Chrissy better and everyone. And they just had a phenomenal season. Very young team, a lot of sophomores. I think they only had 2 seniors, and I think 3 juniors. So it's going to be another pretty. They're bringing back a lot of people next year. But this year, I mean, they were 24-4. They averaged 58.7 points per game. We went 13-0 in the region. We had an 8-game win streak that was actually ended by Thomas Dale when we visited them the first time back in January. We ended up losing by 41. They're a very good team as well. They're also very young. And then we ended up having a longer win streak with the 13 games, which was actually snapped by Thomas Dale in the state playoffs, which we only lost by 3. But we had the lead for most of the game. So
Sean, you saw both games, the,
yeah,
the 41-point loss in January, and then we saw the game here in the state tournament where, Osborne Park came close with Thomasdale, only
yeah.
3 points. What was the big difference there?
Oh, the first time they traveled down to Richmond, Midlothian area, and I think that the home crowd has definitely played a part. And the girls were just not really familiar with that style of play as much. And really, I mean, the Thomas Dale's had an incredible team, lots of depth, lots of speed, lots of shooting. And we just turned the ball over. I believe that game we turned the ball over 29 or almost 30 times. And you're not going to win any game when you turn the ball over that much. So then by the time we got to it, we had the 13-game win streak going on. We had tough wins against Gainesville, Centerville, comeback wins. We had two incredible wins versus Gainesville during the season, and one was in the playoffs. But by the time we got to the state playoffs and they'd gotten confident. They had just come off the first quarterfinal win. And then you're at Hilton, and they had the lead for most of the game. At one point, they had an 8-point lead. They almost threatened to make it 10 or 11, but then they turned the ball over. And at some point, towards the end of the game, it was a very tight game. And then all of a sudden, they kept turning the ball over, and they were kind of overshooting the passes, and they just couldn't, find each other. But I really think it was just that grittiness that they developed, and they found their identity throughout the season. And you had Kiara Rainey, you had Samia Sneed, so you had, and we had injuries. Alex Brown was out for a good portion of the season with a shoulder injury. She'll be back next year, though. We had Peyton Walters, freshman, actually, just incredible. She had really defensive tenacity. She had really good scoring abilities. She had a few games where she dropped 20 plus throughout the season. Her sister, Paige, was a senior on the team, so they got to play together. But yeah, just a young team with those lots of aggression on defense, and they're only going to get better. I mean, Kiara Rainey, she already has, I believe, 2 offers. I believe one from Towson and one from not Monmouth, but she has 2 offers right now.
One of the things we've been doing this year is really giving a lot of love and focus to girls and women's sports, especially girls basketball this year. We've had a lot of coaches on. We've gone to games, covered the games, celebrating and watching Iowa versus South Carolina in the girls' national championship on Sunday. And it was the most viewed basketball game, period. NBA, college, boys, whatever. 19 million views to watch Caitlin Clark. And so the women's game, which has been great for years, I'm glad it's getting that acknowledgement and love. And I know the last game I went to for OP, my schedules didn't match with others, was when I saw you, was Osbourn Park against Gainesville, a team they had already played, I believe 3 times already. The atmosphere there was electric, and I'm so glad that the women are getting their props. Tell us a little bit about just covering girls' sports in high school, and especially Osbourn Park, where they've had a tremendous amount of success over the years.
Yeah, I mean, you went from Cliff Gorham to Chrissy Kelly. I mean, and Cliff Gorham had a hell of a stretch there, and he's still around, because his daughter plays for Chrissy right now. She's and Jalen. And Chrissy's just had so much success. I believe we have, 6 straight district championships, 4 straight regional championships. And right now it's just, this year I noticed with the atmosphere, just the competitiveness. I absolutely love watching the girls play with high school basketball, even more so than college. And I enjoyed college, but the girls' high school, they just a different atmosphere, similar to how, Friday Night Lights is a different thing than college football, pro football. And just getting to be with the team and see them progress and incorporate the things that the coaches are teaching them and take one bad game and they turn it into a great game the next one. So, learn from their mistakes.
In girls basketball, how special a state Virginia is. The great players that have come out of here, Kara Lawson, Katie Smirkaduffy, Lakeisha Frett, Penny Moore. Rusty was our year. She was 87. She was like one of the top 5 players in the country. And there was a girl named Lynn Anastasio that graduated from Phoebus in 1977, I believe. They won a state championship, I think, in their first couple of years. It's getting better, because, Sean, you talked about the fact that OP has a lot coming back. Dale has a lot coming back. I don't know. There's a young lady that Rusty and I saw that plays for James River in Richmond, which was amazing. Lainey Grant. She's a Gatorade Player of the Year. She's committed to Carolina. I'm going to tell you, if you haven't seen her play, go see her play. She is electric, man.
She just reclassed, so she's actually going to go to North Carolina this fall instead of next fall.
Whoa!
Yeah, really? That just happened about 2 or 3 days ago.
Interesting. Really? Good piece of information. Wow. Well,
we played James River when she was a freshman. She had 10 points against us in the playoffs when we beat them. And then we faced them again this year in the regular season. And it was a tournament down in Richmond, and she had 25 points. And we were able to, I think we beat them by 9. So it's definitely a confidence booster because we had Kiara Rainey on her all night long.
Yeah. Wow. That I'm glad you told us that. I hadn't heard that. And, not that, I get it. If you're able to graduate early and go down, especially going to Carolina, but it's kind of like Caitlin Clark could come back for another year. She got a COVID year, but that young lady, both of them have already done as much as they can do on this level. I think she's proven, if she doesn't have to prove, or I don't know how much more her game will grow on the high school level, unless she went to, a private school and was in a program that's traveling nationally. But she doesn't need that. She's got a scholarship to one of the best programs in the country. So,
and I believe she'd committed, I'm not sure when exactly, but I know it was before her freshman year. She'd already committed to North Carolina.
Yeah.
She might have some ties there,
Yeah, and I believe they also have another player on North Carolina who went to James River. I believe is their 5th year, I think.
Okay. All right, well, that's good
Carolina's
to know.
always had its hands in Virginia basketball, male and female. And there's a lot of guys from Richmond. The kid there now, Baycott, I mean, he's a Richmond guy. So, but it is exciting though. I mean, because I was telling Rusty that, I mean, I enjoyed the girls probably more than the boys. I mean, their games were phenomenal. Saw some phenomenal players, and
Mhm.
then it's setting up for next year. You know, OP is going to be set up. I mean, they've got to be excited about what's happening. You know, they got playing well against Dale, and they got a lot coming back. And then, you know, in Class 6, there's the great teams. Um, how's it changed, Sean, for you? I mean, you went to Woodson in the early 2000s, been 20 years now, but you've been covering
Yeah,
girls
don't remind me.
basketball. Yeah. Well, don't worry about it, man. It's almost 40 for us, so we got you. But I mean, so how has it changed, though? I mean, the game has changed. I mean, the girls are so much more electric now, shooting the ball and moving the ball up and down the floor.
Yeah, I believe, you see all these like specialty trainers they have. I know some parents who have their kids with these trainers, and they're just doing incredible work, working so hard every single day. And you see, their shot is so consistent that back when I didn't play in high school, I did play like Braddock Road Youth Club. I played Turnpike, house leagues. But just the amount of dedication these kids are putting in, and the practice time is just tremendous, and it just really ups the competition from what we saw years ago. Obviously, AAU plays a big part in that as well. A lot of kids are doing way more AAU than back in the day. Some teams do more practicing there, and some teams do less practicing and just do more games. So it can be a bone of contention for some people. Some people like the culture of it, and other people think it could be more fundamentally based. But it's just, these girls are just, what they can do these days is absolutely tremendous.
Have you seen the fifth grader, Aubrey Bush,
I have
on
not.
TikTok? Oh my goodness, Rusty, have you seen her, the fifth grader? She's playing with boys, man, and she is lighting them up. The girl can play. She's in fifth grade. You'll be hearing about her.
I'm sure.
Aubrey Bush, man, she's incredible. But and I mean, OP also is prime for a state championship next year with all they have coming back. Can you talk a little bit about, like, tell us and our viewers about the team that'll be, the 24-25 Osbourn Park girls basketball team?
So this past season, when they came in, the expectations, I'm not going to say like for the coaching staff, they were always looking at states, but I think from the outside looking in, a lot of people were thinking, okay, young team, they might have a drop off. And these girls, I mean, we started 3-2, but to finish 24-4, and we had those 2 win streaks. It really showed that these girls, they developed an identity later on in the season. But coming into the next year, I mean, we're going to have our seniors Julia Matthews and AB Alex Brown. And they're going to, provide that leadership. But now we're going to have Samia Sneed, and you're going to have Kiara Rainey. You can have JL West, who's absolutely, she's got that dog in her. She gets the rebound. She plays tough defense. She can hit the threes when you need her to, like in the corner. And then you got Peyton Walters in as a freshman, or now she'll be a sophomore. And she just took over games last year at points. And you look at it, you go, that's no way that girl's a freshman. So she plays way beyond her years. And next year, and also they're going to bring in Kai Jones. She'll be a freshman next year. And she's, every time I see her on Instagram, she's just making all these 3-pointers. So she's going to have a chance to really add some depth to that team. They also have Janie Salinas, and she's got that height. She's got a shot, and she can knock it down. I mean, Thomas Dale, I mean, they might be in trouble next year. Nice little rivalry we got going on there.
Yeah.
What about the rest of Prince William County? There's some really good teams. We'll talk about some of the other teams that, Rusty, you've seen them too. I mean, Sean, who are some of the other teams to look out for out there? I know Gainesville, right?
Oh yeah, Gainesville. They did lose Maddie this year, but I mean they've got a lot of height there. And I believe Colgan. I mean, they actually put up a pretty good season. And was it Woodbridge decent?
Freedom Woodbridge also.
Freedom Woodbridge was great. Yeah,
they're very young too.
Yeah, and they're tough. I mean, they're very physical as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, and the basketball program at OP, and Chrissy's won 2 state championships for Prince William County at Forest Park High School. Yeah. With Monica Wright. And so I think what I thought about this season is, they only had 4 losses, but I think what kind of freaked a lot of us out was the fact that they had 2 losses within those first, 5 or 6 games. So it just didn't look like a typical Osbourn Park team from the last couple of years. But as the season went on, they kept getting better. And those challenges with the early losses actually just made them better. And in the back of my mind, because we had a whole lot of talk we were hearing from Lee Mary and down in the Richmond area, and we had him on talking about the great girls programs down in the Richmond 804 area, and he talked about Manchester, he talked about James River and Thomasdale, but to avenge a 40-point loss and only lose by 3, like that, to me, I know it's disappointing, but that's still leaving on a high note when you got such a young team going into next year.
And it stinks to have that lead for most of the majority of the game. 8 points. Like I said, it could have been a little bit more. The expectations there were to win, and honestly, I feel like they would have matched up pretty well against Manchester. We had a 25-point loss to them during the season, and it was once again kind of like a shock value to them, where when they came to it, and there's a little bit too many turnovers as well. Not as many as the Thomasdale game, but the girls had evolved at that point to such a degree that either one of them, that would have just been a fun matchup, and to see how they had progressed. And I was telling them, maybe if you let them win a state championship this year, next year, watch out, we could have repeated. So
yeah.
Rusty, you said that about Richmond, the great players in Richmond, like right now, unbelievable players. But I've been in Northern Virginia for 33 years now.
Yeah.
And I don't think this is biased at all. I think this is completely factual.
Oh, yeah.
Northern Virginia is the best in girls basketball, not only top to bottom. And that means all the teams. Fairfax County's been unbelievable, but also great players, really, really good players. The top players. Northern Virginia has always been there, and I think that this year, Madison, and by the way, don't count out Madison. Madison will be back, but the quality of play. And Sean, you grew up here. It's been unbelievable throughout the years.
Well, speaking of Madison, we lost to them 2 years in a row back in 21 and 22 in the state championship. So that was a tough pill to swallow each time. And I believe they won 20 last year as well, or 23. So that's just that's the powerhouse of a school. They had a little more of a down year this year, but yeah, it's just a tremendous amount of talent in all the divisions. You got level 6, you got level 5, you got Brentsville. So it's just like you said, there's so much talent there, and even way back in the day as well.
Woodgrove was very impressive. They beat a really talented Hampton team. Real quick, I want to make sure we plug your blog so we can put it so everybody can check you out. Say it slow so we can get the web address, a URL of your blog, Sean.
It's www.seanneutron.substack.com. And I got
Sean, S-E-A-N?
S-E-A-N, correct.
Sean Neutron. Okay, got it.
The Neutron part comes from high school. That I was nicknamed Jimmy Neutron back in the day. So
I figured that was the case. Yeah,
that's cool. I see it. All right, cool. All right, and then so that was the next thing we kind of wanted to do is transition into learning more about you. I'm going to definitely help promote it, your site, and that's why part of the reason you're on is to promote your site, talk about OP girls. But let's find out, how did you get into this? First of all, you graduated from Woodson High School. Are you originally from Fairfax County? Did you grow up there?
Yeah, I grew up in Annandale. And I went to Woodson High School. Then I went to Northern Virginia Community College in Annandale. Then I graduated from Shepherd back in 2013.
Okay, yeah.
So we got a lot of Northern Virginia athletes who go to Shepherd.
Yeah. I was hoping my
school.
son was going to play football there. I loved it. We took a visit, and I love that campus, and it's close.
Yeah, it's only an hour and a half. I've made that drive so many times. It's an easy drive at this point.
Yeah.
I went there for sports communication. And then at the time, I got an internship with Beyond Sports Network with Jimmy Kibble and Dan Evans. And,
yeah.
So Jimmy Kibble used to be a great kicker there at Osbourn Park, and then I went to Virginia Tech.
Michael
Vick years. Yep. So he, I talked to Michael Foley, the announcer for the Osbourn Park Yellow Jackets, the football team, and he tells me stories of Jimmy and how he could get the ball like just 50-yard punts all the time, and just insane things you don't ever really see anymore. Kicking is
I was
especially
going
in
to say
high
the only
school.
reason why Jimmy Kimmel wasn't the kicker is because Shane Graham, who's probably the best kicker in Virginia Tech history, was a parade All-American and played in the pros forever, was the kicker. But Jimmy was a great punter. And also his son, I believe his class of 2025 and is committed to South Carolina, Chase Kimball. He's a player you'll hear about this fall. So,
Oh yeah, you talk about just a great genes in that family. But yeah, I got to know Dan Evans through Beyond Sports Network, and then he was hired as the football coach for Osbourn Park back in 2015, and he brought me along to do the stats and the recaps. And I did it 2015, 2016, 2017. Took a little bit of a break, and then I came back when Reggie Scott was the coach, and then I've done it every football with them ever since.
Okay. All right. Now, what your background? Did you play sports growing up? Did you play any sports at Woods?
I did not play sports in high school, like in Woodson itself. I tried out for golf. I tried out for baseball. I was a little undersized, and at golf at the time, I wasn't really great. It was more just a fun thing for me. But when it came to that, I did like the house basketball leagues, Turnpike, Braddock Road Youth Club, and baseball I did up until 8th grade. Really enjoyed it. But
I was a sports
yeah.
junkie, man. I mean, he is a sports junkie. You know what I mean? You got it. I mean, you play enough, you get exposed to it,
Yeah.
and you got to be around it. One of the questions I had for you, and this is the exact kind of stuff that we feed upon, right? If we sit down at a game or we're talking, whatever. But I was like, who's the best athlete in Woodson history? I said, is it Tommy Amaker or Andy Heck? And you said that, and you commented on that, but that's a typical conversation that we have. So for the school, what's that on 236? That Little River Turnpike?
Yeah, right there off Main Street. Yeah.
Who's their best athlete ever?
Those two names. I mean, how can you argue those two names right there? And at least at my time there, Nick Olivero was he graduated my class, and he played football, he played basketball, and he led us to. I think we went to 27-1, and for the state championship, we lost to Hayfield at the time in basketball. And that year we were 12-1 in football, and I can't recall off the top of my head who we lost to. We didn't make it to the state championship, but we did lose in the playoffs. So I mean, and his older brother Jose Olivero, he graduated 03. He went to Lehigh for basketball.
Yep. I remember him. I think I reffed a couple of their games.
They were in the play-in that year. I think it was the first time they did the 4-team play-in.
Yep.
Was Red Jenkins still there?
At that time, no.
Yeah, he had left, but I mean, he was like one of the all-time greats. I watched those guys in the '90s. They had some great players. I mean, a big basketball school. So
yeah, I think the last time they won the state championship in, I believe, 2018, I believe.
They beat Hilton, right?
Yeah.
At the end, yeah.
And the football team was good up. I think 2017 they had a really good year. And ever since then, it's kind of been a struggle for them. So
I just found out Chris Nocky went there, the old American coach. He's a big sports radio guy.
I love Chris. Yeah, I know Chris.
Yeah. How about pro sports? Are you being a local guy? Are you like big on the Washington teams or Baltimore Orioles or?
Well, I am. Okay, I'll tell you the baseball in a second, but my dad's from Pittsburgh, so I was never really raised on local sports.
Yeah.
I've got the Minneapolis Miracle here, the little play right here. I'm a big Vikings fan.
Okay.
Back in '98, Randy Moss really, drew me to the team. I've stuck with him ever since. And I used to be a big Griffey fan. He's the only player I've ever followed from one team to another. And then from there, once he retired, I kind of was just a casual fan. And these days, I just pay attention to the Nats and the O's. And I know like they've got two really good minor league systems. They just called up Jackson Holiday today for the Orioles.
Your love for sports, I get that. But how did that translate into journalism? Like you went to school for it, but was there ever an option did you want to be a journalist, or it was specific? Well, I guess were you drawn to writing first, or were you drawn to covering and media of sports?
I was probably the writing part of it, because honestly, I think sometimes I get like shy in front of the camera, not to be quite honest. And so I like to be able to sit there and compose all my thoughts without any distractions. And I mean, some people are really good, and you guys are great on screen, and other people are really good at being able to have that personality in front of the screen. But I'm good. I carry Kirk. But I just like to sit there and get
pretty out of the two.
I like having the box score in front of me, and then I like have, okay, what's the story going to be? And then you get to, write down the moments and everything. And, in that part, and that we have so many good photographers in this area that it's really fun to get to work with them. And like, Nova Sports Media Team, David Gaylor, Torian Patterson, and they have a whole staff there, does a great job. So shout out to them because they helped me out all season long as well.
Now we will go to athletes and we'll ask them who is your Mount Rushmore. But let me ask you this: who would be your Mount Rushmore of folks in sports media? So it could be local, it could be regional, it could be national.
Yeah.
And I can give you mine. I can give you mine. Yeah. But I'll let you go first.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little bit of a mixture. I know. Michael Wilbon. I mean, I love Michael. Oh,
Wilbon. You took mine. That was gonna be my first.
He's probably my biggest national one for sure. I mean, he's just so talented, and you can't argue that. And when it comes to local, though, I listen to Grant and Danny all the time, and Grant's just, they're very natural as well. B. Mitch and Finley, obviously 106.7. So listen to all those shows, and it's amazing to see, like, people think that the star players are going to be great at broadcasting, but doesn't always translate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Man, that's a good one, Rusty. I'm sitting here with my little notepad.
Yeah, I can tell you a couple of mine. So if I had to name,
trying to figure it out. I got two already. Did you come up? Was that four? All right, Rusty, go ahead.
So four, but Wilbon, I have to say Wilbon, but Wilbon / Kornheiser, because I love Kornheiser, and his not just his writing in the Washington Post when the paper really meant something, but also I've been listening to him on radio for years, and his style of his radio show really did birth, what Dan Le Batard does. And Dan is probably my favorite media person. So if I had my Mount Rushmore, I would go Wilbon / Kornheiser. So that's one. But then Dan Le Batard and his whole thing, he's gone from being a writer to a radio show to podcasts, and the way he's just kind of done his whole thing with the media. But then I would say on a local basis, Sports Junkies. They're Kirk and I's age. I saw that show develop from the ground and grow to now, 30 years worth of great content. But their style, like, that's what this show is. It's not like we talk sports, but we talk pop culture. We just talk about whatever. And so they've been a big influence. And then lastly, I would say I really like what Shannon Sharp has done over the last couple of years. And I was listening to his podcast years before, Cat Williams was up there, So those are some folks for me. What about you, Kirk?
I just marked a guy off I had four. So I'm gonna go. I gotta pick one more. I want to do two print guys and two media guys. So I love to hear Keith Jackson, the old Nelly. The college football guy. And then Tony Kornheiser, just funny. And before Tony ever got on TV, I was reading all of his stuff, in the Washington Post in the early 90s. I mean, he was funny in print. John Madden. And you know what? This name keeps popping into my head. And he's probably not one of the best, but I'll tell you, I love the way when someone can call a game and they really are very good and technical. The way Joe Morgan called a baseball game, I love to hear him call a baseball game. But that's three media guys, and there's just so many print guys, Shirley Povich of the Post, but he's older on, but there's been some great, writers. Mitch Albom, his books are incredible. Yeah. And then, some of the local guys, not just Washington, D.C., but, down at Hampton Roads, some of the guys that we grew up with.
David Till.
O'Brien, Larry Obama, Bruce Rader was a big star. He had a lot of personality. There were a lot of good Virginia-based guys.
And you guys talk
about my political
answer. The media and the print. When you think about it, the biggest influences, we talked about Kornheiser and Wilbon, but also Mike and the Mad Dog. I mean, they both of them, just changed the genres completely.
Yeah. And that whole if you think about the way the sports media has grown right now, and the kind of salaries that the Fox football guys, the big stars, Stephen A. Smith and all these guys with podcasts and all that. Mike and Mad Dog, they started that like hardcore back and forth. They were doing that a long time ago. And, that is one thing I would say that Sean, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, Rusty. I've never brought this up to you. Have you guys noticed when you take 95 towards Baltimore, once you hit Howard County pretty much, that signal for sports radio is gone, and you're getting on Baltimore sports radio. And by the way, they are baseball up there. They're talking about pitch count. They're talking about to bunt, to not bunt, all those things. We don't talk about baseball here, but have you noticed that you can get the sports radio pretty much all the way to Richmond? That's got to be a thing with the signals. I've actually never brought that up before, but I have noticed that there's a big difference. And the reason why I brought that up is because Rusty and I did an episode in the very beginning, and we've been building our brand, but we did it on the best sports towns. And it's a pretty cool episode. We talk about it. I think mine was Philadelphia. What was yours, Rusty? My number one was Philadelphia. And then I had, I know Chicago, New York, Philly's always there. Baltimore's a great sports town.
Pittsburgh, yeah.
I think Pittsburgh may have been my second.
I think I said Pittsburgh. I think in terms of diehard loyal folks, I said the Philly fans are just fake because they love you, but then they also will hate you. So
there's no loyalty.
They're not fake.
But they're consistent.
But you got no. I don't mean they're fake, but I mean like they're so passionate. I'm a little scared of them.
It's very polarizing either direction.
Exactly. Yeah. So no, I tell you, we talked about those great sports towns, but there's also a whole nother level when you go to sports towns related to the college level. So when you're talking Knoxville, Morgantown, oh my God, Blacksburg,
Blacksburg is an incredible sports town. Yeah,
I was in Morgantown. I think it was for a game in fall 2022 for West Virginia. They played Oklahoma. It was raining. It's an terrible season they're having. But those people out there, it's like a professional setup when it comes to tailgating. They got like the heaters, they got the tents, they got the TVs, they got some people at hottie toddies. And I'm like, this is just impressive. I mean, I got to give you guys all, I'm lazy when it comes to this stuff. I just show up, I'll eat, I'll drink. I might bring up 6-pack of beers, but I'm not going to set up like these people do. It was impressive.
Yeah.
And then I was also going to say real quick, we don't have to talk about it, but Lincoln, Nebraska and Norman, Oklahoma. Yeah, those are great towns for college sports. So
it comes to sports. So I want to ask you whether you're covering or just been to, what would be your greatest sports experience? Like something, it could be watching something on TV or just being there or covering something, and it could be any level, high school, youth, college, pros.
I think it was back in 2020. I had actually just had a hip surgery for a procedure, because I thought I had a torn hip labrum. But anyway, so I had a lot of free time, and I was like, you know what? I got a few days, some time off. Let me go down to Houston. The Royal Rumble was at the Minute Maid Park in 2020, and it was the last big show before the pandemic really put a kibosh to all that. 43,000 people there. I was on the floor seats. I got to see all sorts of surprises. It was just fantastic. Lots of fun. So that stands out to me as one of my favorite, being at a sporting event memory.
You have one? And I think I've asked a similar question, and I think I'll see what you say though. How about you?
If I would say for sport event, I was just thinking, for me personally, it was the Sugar Bowl. The Virginia Tech played Florida State. We were winning at the end of the third quarter, and just if you're Virginia Tech, I mean, we're crazy. I mean, we love Virginia Tech. I mean, I don't think anybody compares to us. Penn State, they love their school, but we love being Hokies. And, to be on that stage against an incredible team, I think it was just just the personal part of it, right? That's my school, and so that was unbelievable. If we would have had the depth that they would have had, we would have beaten them. Their depth just came out. Our 22 against their 22, we were just fine, but it was the other areas. But so for me, it's that Virginia Tech moment.
Were you at that game?
Yeah, I was there.
Oh wow. Okay, I watched it. I watched it. Wow. Yeah.
The
Okay.
internet was young, but we got club seats through the internet. It was 99. We got a nice little, there was no Airbnb. We got a nice little apartment in the French Quarter, flew down to, but we couldn't get in New Orleans. We had to go to Gulfport and drive over. And funny story for you real quick. We were waiting in line at some gumbo restaurant in the French Quarter, and this line was a mile long, man. People were waiting like an hour for lunch or whatever. And it was Anthony Poindexter, Jamie Sharper, and the Farrier dude. They just walk up and go straight in the restaurant in front of us, but they were down there to see Tech play Florida State. But that was just a great, great memory for in person.
Actually, I got one more real quick. Back in 2019, I'm a big Rockets fan, so I was there for the Rockets Wizard game in DC. It was on the same night as game 7 of the World Series. So I'm rooting for the Nationals in one, but I'm rooting for the Rockets in the other. I'm trying I didn't want people to see my Rockets gear, so I was trying to I don't want to piss anybody off. But after the game, it was 159 and 158 in regulation, and all of a sudden there was 3 innings left in the game, so they showed the rest of the game on the jumbotron.
Sweet!
We got to watch the rest of the World Series, and in the final, I still have a video on my Instagram of it too.
That is nice. That is nice. Mine, there could have, I've had a lot, but I would say was the Virginia Tech UVA game when Virginia Tech changed clothes. UVA had been ranked number.
It was almost a tie for my first.
Yeah. Virginia Tech.
1990, Friday after Thanksgiving. We beat the crap out of them.
They were ranked number 1 in the nation, and that I think they had been rivals before, but UVA never really wanted to acknowledge Virginia Tech because they were in ACC and they just thought they were better than them. But that game, I think that made it a rivalry, a real legitimate sports football rivalry. So that was fun. All right, but let's go ahead on and we're going, before we wrap this up, let's find out a little bit more about you, Sean. Sure. It's really been great. I'm learning a lot about you, and now I know our audience, and hopefully this helps promote the work you're doing out there. Tell us a little bit about you outside of covering sports. What do you talked about golf. What do you like to do?
Like I said, I'm married to golf. If I could do that, all the time. I think I saw you. One of the questions you were going to ask was about what would I do if I had $5 billion?
Yes.
$5 billion. $5 million. Rusty's got that.
I'd get a nice little house, modest little house somewhere, but I'd be traveling all the time. I'd be golfing all the time.
Man, go to all the sports events.
You go to all the sports events.
Super Bowl, World Series, Wimbledon.
Whatever I wanted. Yeah, and then I would put some to charity, but then I'd also have more free time to do maybe have a podcast or and put more production into a website or into writing, various things like that. So that'd be really fun, and obviously cover everything for my parents, make sure that they're taken care of.
Yeah, and
like that, he took us back to the $5 billion question.
And the Kirk Byrd show. You hooked that up.
You know what though, Sean? That's so in line because I've said that too. The Masters is my favorite event. We talked about that. Maybe we'll chat a little bit about that. But I would get a cabin down or a house down there in Augusta. Yep. I would have friends. Come on, I got $5 billion. I'd fly all my friends in. We'd check that out, and of course, I would be at the Final Four.
Yeah,
the week before.
I'd be at WrestleMania. I'd be everywhere.
Hold on, dog. I would have been at the girls' Final Four on Friday. Then I would have flown to the boys on Saturday. Then I would have flown back on Sunday. And then I would have been there on Monday. I'd have been at every game in the front row.
You can't forget the Waste Management Open either.
I want to go to that.
Yeah.
But true story, I flew. I was in Atlanta Tuesday morning after one of the finals. And it was the Masters. And I saw in the same terminal, I was waiting on a flight. I saw Jim Nance does the Final Four, and I saw Scott Van Pelt. And I talked to Scott Van Pelt because we're fraternity brothers. He's a pretty cool guy. I talked to him about how he got his career. But, I'm the same way, Sean. I mean, I would love going to Wimbledon. I would love going to the Super Bowl, the Final Four and all those events. I mean, if you got that kind of money, like the World Series.
A few years ago, the Waste Management was on the same when they moved the NFL season back a week. It's the same Sunday now as Super Bowl Sunday, and they were both in Phoenix, so you could have gone to the Waste Management final round and then gone straight to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yep.
That would I'm sure people did it. That's cool.
You'd be exhausted, but it would be a fun memory.
Oh yeah. So we got a couple more real quick. We want to ask you.
Yeah, sure.
What if you do you have any type of things you like to stream? Do you have a favorite movies? What do you are you into any particular television show?
So I'm finishing up rewatching Billions. It was on Showtime. I know it's on Paramount Plus.
Yep.
And I'm actually on the season 7 right now, and that is my absolute favorite show of all time. I think 24 with Kiefer Sutherland is second, but Billions, I just love the aesthetic. I love the act. I mean, it's just incredible acting, and very, very rewatchable.
Yep. I've watched that. I'm all caught up on Billions, but I'm just started. My wife and I just started Suits.
Suits, yeah, that's
great. I did too, Ruffy. It just started Suits.
That show came out like years ago.
Yeah.
It had like 8 seasons, but it's great. My wife and I are like, hey, let's go watch Suits, and we'll binge like 3 or 4 over the weekend. So, yeah.
Movie, Sean, you got a top movie or top 2 or 3?
So my 2 favorite movies of all time. One is Dark Knight. I think it's the greatest superhero movie of all time. And my second favorite movie is actually, this is a picture from it, The Truman Show with Jim Carrey.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's the moment he walks up the stairs, he finds something out for himself. And I kind of can relate that to just real life, like, just find out things for yourself. Dare to know things. Don't sit there and just rely on other people and hearsay. Get the facts for yourself, and obviously that ties into journalism as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's great. Now, one last question, unless Kirk may have one. I want to ask. We a lot of times we ask folks what is their favorite fast food chain French fries, but I got a different spin on it. I want to ask, what is your favorite fast food dessert? All right. And some places like McDonald's have multiple desserts, but some places so I'll give you an example. Chick-fil-A has the brownie and they have a soft serve ice cream. McDonald's has the apple pie. Is there one, but not a dessert specific place?
Yeah.
But is there a fast food place that you made like their desserts the best?
Honestly, I have quite a sweet tooth, but and I love sour candy. But when it comes to like desserts, I usually don't get really desserts that much. I get maybe the ice cream sundae at McDonald's, just a simple sundae. But when you mentioned the French fries, though, I literally had a tweet coincidentally yesterday. I talked about my favorite French fries. You got Elevation Burger, you got Five Guys, I think no one talks about it. Pizza Hut has really good French fries.
What? Really?
Yeah. They're very crunchy. They're delicious.
Now, to me, there's a difference between kind of some fast food and then those dining ones. So my favorite dining ones, especially since they're all you can eat, is Red Robin. Like, you give me my honey mustard and Red Robin, and that's all I eat. Like I take my burger. I take my burger home. I'm just eating fries.
Red Robin is the Taj Mahal for milkshakes. For me.
Yeah. They do have great.
I think Yard House, they have really good truffle fries, so those are really good.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Kirk, you have anything else?
Well, I got to answer. I was thinking the same thing as you, Sean. Like, I don't really do fast food. Who does desserts at fast food? Then I was like, the Frosty at Wendy.
That was what I was going to say.
Is unbelievable.
That is my gold medal winner right there. The Frosty.
My metabolism is not what it used to be, but the Frosty at Wendy's is really good.
When people start dipping the French fries into it, I don't get that.
I don't
get that either.
But I get it. I don't do it, but I get it.
And I'm showing my age here, but McDonald's milkshakes used to be the bomb. I don't know what they've done with them, all the whipped cream and crap in there, but McDonald's milkshakes used to be really good. But
if the ice cream machine's not broken.
Right. Oh yeah.
The frosting machine is always broken.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah. So, man, this has been a lot of fun, Sean. I really appreciate you joining us. We're gonna have to get you back on, especially during your active parts of the year, sports and teams you're covering.
Your blog one more time so we make sure we get it.
SeanNeutron.substack.com. My Twitter is @SeanNeutron. Instagram @SeanNeutron.
Okay, we'll follow you on Twitter. Good deal.
All right, man.
Good stuff,
Sean,
this was fun.
This was fun. Thanks, man.
Thanks for having me, guys.
I appreciate you joining us. You are the man. So, look, come back. We'll get you, doing OP basketball. But if there's something that's happening, like if these, even if you're not covering them, but OP girls softball team that's won a state championship in the last 8 years.
They fell short last year, but this year, let's see what they can do.
Yeah, we'll get you back on and you can tell us how they're doing. All right.
I would love to. Yeah, Patrick DeRosa does a great job for them.
Any shout outs? Anybody, anything you want to promote on the way out?
Just that social media stuff right there, and I just want to honestly, I just want to thank Osbourn Park for all the opportunities I've been given, whether it's Dan Evans, Keith Lane, Chrissy Kelly, and getting to know the community, all the parents and students there. It's just I love being part of the community, and it's just fantastic.
Numbers on your blog, man. Those are great write-ups. Osbourn Park, check that out. Definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah, right. Good stuff. All right. So look, for Sean O'Brien, my co-host Kirk Byrd, this has been the Kirk and Byrd Show. We are out.